Hi, thanks for joining me today. My name is David Peacock. Today I'm going to do a video about the publisher named JM Dent. JM Dent is the original publisher of the Everyman Library. And I just finished his memoir. It's called The Memoirs of JM Dent. The current iteration of the Everyman Library looks like this. And here's the one of Benvenuto Cellini. And then I have one here. This is a Stendhal. There are other companies who put out these imprints of classic books. Here's an example of a modern library book. Here are some examples of Penguin classic books that many people have been reading on BookTube. And then there's also Oxford World Classics, and this is another classics publication. But the significance of J.M. Dent, Joseph Mallaby Dent, is that he was one of the originators of this type of publishing, and his original imprint was the Everyman's Library. And his Everyman libraries look like this. And these ones. Now back to J.M. Dent. I first heard of this from another booktuber, Amy To Think of Books. And when she bought this book, she had the wonderful experience of finding a letter from the Dent publishers inside the book. And when I got my copy, I also experienced the same serendipity when I opened the book and I found a letter inside of it. It looks like this. This letter is from J.M. Dent Sons Limited Publishers, and it is dated September 21st, 1928. It's addressed to Mr. Wheaton at 232 High Street, Exeter. Dear Mr. Wheaton, as one who knew my father, I feel sure you will be interested in his memoirs, which we are publishing on September 28th, and it is with pleasure that I send you an early copy. Yours, Hugh Dent. That's a very nice piece of J.M. Dent ephemera. Of course, these are, when I say J.M. Dent, I mean J.M. Dent and Sons. He had a he had a large family, but his son, as J.M. Dent's son came of age, Hugh Dent came of age, he became a pivotal person in the publishing of the J.M. Dent Sons books. But now I want to talk about who was J.M. Dent and talk about his memoirs. He was born in 1849. He was born in a town called Darlington, and he was from a large family of 10 children. And when he was young, the town he lived in was a Quaker town, and they disapproved of things like the theater. But he discovered the local theater, and he used to sneak out of the house to go see theatrical performances. He became friends with one of the actors in the theater, and so he kept his secret from his family. He was kind of a mischievous child. He calls himself a dullard at school. And then he did discover books and liked reading. Now, there was a significant event in his childhood that he writes about, and that was that he had a disability. And the way he explains it is that when he was young, he says he had a paralysis on the left side of his body, and he had a problem with his leg because when he had some kind of an injury when he was an infant. He's not really clear, and he doesn't really know what it was. He either burned his calf or somehow his calf got damaged, and he walked on his toes. And so then they did an operation to flatten out his foot, but then he was kind of permanently lame in his left side. And this obviously had an effect on his life. Now, I might have left that out of the biography because most people people might think it's kind of derogatory to mention someone's disability in a video like this. But the reason why I wanted to note this disability is because if you look at the letter from the JM Dent sons, in the corner of the letter, there's a logo here. And this logo, which is on the official JM Dent stationery, says National Scheme for Disabled Men. So what I'm saying is that he did not keep it a secret that he was disabled. He wasn't trying to hide it. And in fact, he seems like he wanted to show himself as an example of how you can be successful while you have a disability. So that's why I'm including it here. He was able to walk, and he talks about many excursions he took. He took trips to Europe and walked, and from what I can discern, he probably had a irregular gait when he walked, and there is some letters here from people said that he did walk in a particular way that was different from other people. So, I'm not trying. I just want to put that out there because I think that he put it out there, and so I'm going to put it out there. So he started his apprenticeship in Darlington, and then the publisher that he worked, the bookbinder he worked for, went out of business, and then he moved to London, and he got some jobs there. He got married, and then at around 25 and 26, he started publishing his own books. So around age 30, he started to seriously read Shakespeare, and he was part of a Shakespeare society. And these people would meet, and they would go over Shakespeare plays, and they would go over every single scene, and they would make sure everybody got the scene before they go to the next scene. They went through many, if not all, of the Shakespeare plays. Well, he noticed that when he came to the meetings, everybody had different editions of Shakespeare. So he made a business decision that he wanted to publish a working man's Shakespeare, and he came up with the idea of the Temple Shakespeare. He started printing the Temple Shakespeare in 1894. These were to be inexpensive volumes, one for each play. I recently bought one of these on Etsy, and this is what it looks like. Here are some examples of what the Temple Shakespeare looks like. And it's a very nice volume. It's very small, so you can carry it around. It's an attractive volume with nice printing. The top of each page has the act and the scene in red ink as opposed to the black ink of the regular text. So these Shakespeare editions were very successful, and he says in here that the idea caught on and was instantly a success, so that for some time the sales each year exceeded 250,000 volumes. The largest sale made in Shakespeare since the plays were written. So I imagine this was just a phenomenon at its time. And so with the success of that, he expanded his business. He also started to make contact with the publishers in the United States of America, specifically E.P. Dutton, and they were selling his books in the United States. Then around 1905, 1906, he came up with the idea of the Everyman Library. And as he foresaw it, the Everyman Library was to be 1,000 volumes of 12 different subjects. He found this editor, Mr. Ernest Rhys. They were trying to think of a title for this classic book series, and Ernest Rhys came up with the title Everyman. It's from a play, Everyman, I Will Go With Thee and Be Thy Guide. And you can see that on the inside front cover. It says, Everyman, I will go with thee and be thy guide, in thy most need to go by thy side. So these books are to accompany you in life. Now, the Everyman Library was to be on the subjects of travel, science, fiction, theology, philosophy, history, classical, for young people, essays, oratory, poetry and drama, biography, reference, and romance. And as far as the Everyman Library, he took a lot of care in designing the Everyman Library books. And one of the thing that was important was the size. It was specifically this smaller size so that it could fit in a coat pocket without bulging and looking irregular. He also made it on very nice paper, and the font was important, and the price was, he always wanted it to be affordable price for every man, so that a regular worker could buy these and educate themselves and be entertained by all these classics and different types of books. To go back to the memoirs, he is just a very optimistic person. He's a very hard worker. He had a lot of anxieties about running his business and borrowing money and having to pay. And at one point he had 400 workers, and 200 of them were women, and he tried to pay the women the highest wages possible. He traveled to Italy. He became excited about the medieval towns like Siena. 2 of his sons were in World War I, and both of them were killed during World War I. And that was a difficult hardship for him. He should be remembered for his extraordinary accomplishments in publishing. The reason why I made this is because all the popularity of this classic books in our time, I wanted to go back to the origins of it and give credit to the JM Dent and Sons Publishing, and specifically JM Dent, for introducing these classics to regular people. As I am an artist, I made a drawing of JM Dent as a tribute to him, and here it is right here. So thanks for watching.